Joining me right now for reaction, New York Congressman Peter King. Good to see you, Congressman. Let's get to tariffs in a minute. But first, back to the White House and what's going on behind closed doors right now. We've got a very serious meeting happening. Are you optimistic here? Do you think that there will be a summit? I would point out, once again, we were given guidance of this is going to be about 5 minutes. He was going to look at the letter, the president that is, from Kim Jong-un, and hopefully give us a readout of something. But here we are 55 or so minutes later, and they're still meeting. How do you interpret that?
Well, it's been 60 years since the end of the Korean War, so I think waiting an extra hour or two, I can see why. This is really complicated too. I mean, I doubt that in that letter, Kim Jong-un is going to say, "I'm giving you everything you want." I think what it's going to be is a diplomatically worded letter, and the president and Mike Pompeo and John Bolton will have to go through it and see if there's enough in there that justifies going ahead with the summit. The president has made it clear that he'd rather have no deal than a bad deal. He's not going to do what President Obama did with Iran. But I think the fact that North Korea is going to this length of sending the minister over here, who, by the way, is a criminal, but he is the closest man to the top. And if you have to deal with the devil, that's what you do sometimes. But again, I don't think they'd be going through all this unless they are looking for a summit. Now, what they're going to do at the summit, the president has to have some assurances going into it. I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be complicated, but the president is setting the right tone and that he's not going to back down, and I give him credit for that.
All right. Turning to tariffs now. There are a lot of people that are upset about this because they say, Congressman, we might be on the verge of some awful trade war that's going to cause our economy to really see a pullback, not just our economy, but economies everywhere. What's your response to that?
Yeah, well, basically, I am not in any way a supporter of tariff wars. Generally, I don't support increasing tariffs. Now, if this is part of the president's negotiating posture with Canada and Mexico and
so do you
the EU,
support that?
Then I can see
mean, if it's negotiation?
He's the commander-in-chief. He's the guy doing the negotiations. Yes, I can listen. I give him that prerogative. And again, he's the guy that wrote the art of the deal, not me. So, but I would think at a time like this, when we are involved with North Korea, with China, and with Russia, I don't know if we want to be bringing on a trade war with Canada and the EU. Having said that, again, the president can juggle, more than one thing at a time. And if this is part of overall negotiations, then that's his prerogative. But I think we have to be very careful.
If, when all this North Korea stuff is going on, let me just play devil's advocate for a second here, Congressman. Maybe that actually helps us to a certain extent, right? In that, look, China has got to understand one thing. We're not going to be okay with them supporting North Korea or trading with North Korea in any kind of way. We've seen them sort of relax on those sanctions that had been put in place. And we're also conveying that we're not going to allow them to keep stealing our technology and to put heavy tariffs on our goods coming in. So maybe it's sending a signal, if you would, to the Chinese and thus the North Koreans, while simultaneously to the world. I'd like to see zero for everyone, Congressman. I don't understand why we have to have any tariffs, right? Why not just say zero for everyone, then it's fair?
Oh, again, I can support that. But again, I was talking about Canada, Mexico, and the EU. I think as far as China, I think the president should certainly be given a free hand to whatever he feels is necessary as far as tariffs, because China is trying to have it both ways. They want to give us enough to show that they're putting some pressure on North Korea. They also want North Korea to be there, and they don't want to put too much pressure on Kim Jong-un. They're trying to play both sides on this one, and the president has made it clear that China's not going to get away with that. So whatever he does with China, I fully support that. That is really part of the overall negotiations, and to me, that almost falls into a military area, because we're talking about life and death here with North Korea. As far as the others, that's more the economy. And as I said, if the president is using that as a negotiating tactic, then fine. But for the long run, I don't think anybody wins when we get into a tariff war with Canada, Mexico, and the EU. But again, to put pressure on them now, I can see
so maybe negotiation-wise it makes sense, although I think you have to be careful that you don't overly convey that, because then the Canadians think, oh, it's just a tactic. You have to mean in negotiations what you say. Congressman, before I let you go, should the president sit down with Robert Mueller and give an interview, yes or no?
Only if there's evidence that he has to answer to. If there's some fact out there they want the president to discuss, fine. We're just having a freewheeling, open-ended conversation about who he may have spoken to 10 years ago or 8 years ago, or why he got a bank loan back in 2011 or whatever it is. No. They should have specific questions, specific areas. And I tell you, being on the Intelligence Committee, I've seen nothing that even comes close to involving the president in any type of Russian collusion. If something has come up and they want the president to address that, yes. But don't just play a perjury trap game.